Over 84 million Nigerians have registered to vote, but it's the new figure at the head of the Election Commission's Collation Centre that's making the headlines. Plus, machetes and guns are drawn as violence breaks out at APC's governorship rally in Lagos. And guess who's back in the spotlight? Dino Melaya. The Nigerian elections are just weeks away, and we are here to help you decide on Nigeria Decides. Hello and welcome to Nigeria Decides. I'm Mark Edo. Joining me on the panel this week, we have a great panel. UK politician, Councillor Susan Fajana Thomas is back with us. APC UK Chairman, Dr. Philip Idiawo, and political analyst Adedamola Aminu. You're all very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, INEC's appointment of Amina Zakari as the official head of the Collation Centre has raised some eyebrows. Despite working on the 2010 and 2015 elections, she's been accused by some of being related to President Buhari, hence getting the job. Now, since the announcement, critics are questioning the integrity of the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, and the extent of the independence of the Election Commission. This is serious stuff. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, also says it will no longer pursue its plans to electronically transmit results from polling units across the National Collation Centre. Now, interesting times. All eyes on INEC, no doubt. Now, before I go to the partisan side of things, I will go to Susan Fajana Thomas. That air of question marks around INEC. Let's begin with Amina Zakari. Who is she and why are some up in arms about her?
Thanks very much. Amina Zakari, I'm a bit biased because I'm a woman and a gender equality campaigner. She is actually a well-qualified woman. She is formidable. This is a woman that formed a high-flying career for herself while bringing up 5 children on her own. She is qualified to do the job. What is the criticism are driven by politics in Nigeria. She's able to deliver, and what they are saying is related to Buhari or not. It has come to bear that she's actually not related to Buhari, though they come from the same place.
But the relation is that she is she's related via marriage. She's not actually related via blood. That's right, isn't it?
That's what they are saying, but she said no. But having even said that, what she is saying, she's up there. The election needs to be transparent, needs to be credible. From the bottom, the election is bottom up. If the attendants at polling stations, if they do their work, presiding officers do their work, collation center do their work before it gets to her. So our position in terms of tampering with the election result is irrelevant, and it's just people making noise. That is my belief. She's qualified to do the job, and let her go.
Susan says it's people noise-making, Adedamola. Now, let's understand what this job that she's been given is. It's basically like a facilities manager. You're not the one who's responsible for overseeing the people at the collation center counting the votes. But you've got to make sure the lights are on, there's water for people to drink, the toilets are working, there's internet connectivity, and that the actual places where the count is taking place are fit for purpose. That's her overall job, as I understand it. Yet, there's so much brouhaha. There's so an imbroglio. There is so much wahala around this woman's appointment. Why now?
I don't know what the noise is all about. You know, this woman is a career civil servant, I would call her. I mean, she was involved in 2010 and 2015. So this is a woman who has built her career with INEC over the years. And she rose to that position now. And all that period, during the Jonathan period, nobody criticized her or say, oh, she is related to Buhari or something.
They didn't, but there were murmurs around her at that time. There's always been eyes on her. I think she's quite a strong woman. She's quite vocal. And I think when you're, Susan will probably nodding her head and when you are a strong woman, the daggers are always out for you, are they not? Am I not right?
Yes,
but 2010 and 2015, she didn't actually influence the outcome of the election.
She had a more powerful job then.
That's fine, but she's doing her job as a civil servant or as an INEC official. So she's doing her job as an INEC official. So I see no reason why people will be criticizing her that, okay, because she's related this. And as Councillor Sudan said, there are a lot of process in place. From the polling booth,
many people that are involved in this,
So from the polling booth,
and you have observers.
So
exactly.
if all these people actually do their job right, before it actually gets to her, there's nothing anybody can do. Our job role is just to actually probably to announce the final result, whatever. But people have already collated the result, and people have voted from the polling booth to the other centers and so on. So based on that, I don't think she has anything to. I mean, people that are criticizing her, I think they're just doing it for political gains or just to make noise. For me, I think they should let her continue and do her job as best as she could.
Now, I know that as the head chairman of APC here in Oyibo land, in the UK, you're nodding your head in agreement. They're saying exactly what your sentiments are. Yes. However, the PDP, from their point of view, they're not here to defend what they're saying, are saying that, listen, this is a woman who has had question marks around her even before this time. We're not comfortable with her. There was some talk of there being some clandestine conversation in Ashore Rock with the chief of staff that was floating around saying you've got to put this person in place. We're not comfortable with her. Because of that, it would be the right thing to do would be to choose someone else. Why specifically this woman? Why are you putting this woman there? You're trying to set up a fix, and this is one element, says the PDP.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think that you hit it on the head, okay? And I like to unpick from where you started. It's about the PDP. The source of this story, the very source, the primary source of this story was PDP. PDP planted the story out, they drove it, and clearly it's turned out to be a lie. And that has been the strategy, their strategy, all through this campaign so far. So they will sit down, manufacture a lie, and drive it out.
Fake news, you're saying?
Fake news, absolutely. That is what they have been doing. So that is, I think that we need to unpick from that very perspective as a starting point. The second point is what Councillor Susanna has said. Is this woman qualified for this role? If yes, is she a Nigerian? Yes. If yes, why would you deprive anybody of a role simply because of relationship? It tells us one thing about the mindset of the PD people.
You mean the campaign is grasping at straws, is what you're saying?
Yes. What the PDP is simply doing and what they are showing to the world, not just to Nigerians, is what is at the bottom of their mind. They drive governance based purely on those vices that have ruined our country. So they think everyone else is doing it.
Can I just say some?
I think the question is, has she got prejudicial interest? Because in politics we know when we have prejudicial interest, we have to declare it onset at the beginning of a meeting and things like that.
Do you mean does she sway in favor of one party or another? Let's be realistic. Who doesn't?
That's exactly.
No.
Very few people.
No, what I mean by prejudicial interest is that the role given to her, will she use it to someone's advantage or not?
Yes, so exactly. Will she act upon it?
So if the answer is no, then in that case, she is free to do whatever. I mean, the job given to her.
Susan, quickly.
What I was going to say is what Councillor Aminu mentioned is about declaration of interest. I believe in her role with her connection or lack of connection to President Buhari, who is one of the candidates, that she needs to a certain declaration needed to be made by her. Whatever that declaration it is, she says she's not related to her, but she needs to make a declaration.
Dr. Philip, what do they mean by saying they no longer pursue plans to electronically transmit results? What does that mean, and what does that mean to us?
The point is this, is that is not a problem that the executive arm of government is saying we don't want to do.
When they say electronically transmit results.
The original plan was that as people voted at the polling units, results will be transmitted directly to a central collation place electronically, whether using mobile devices or whatever.
Or physical paper or whatever,
No physical paper.
No,
electronic, it will be transferred immediately. That was the discussion, all right? The point is, even they in the National Assembly, as well as at INEC, they all agree that the infrastructure needed for this is not there. It's not in place. And I always say this: who is responsible for this particular mess that we find ourselves in terms of our data management setup? The PDP.
I thought you were going to say APC.
The PDP.
I'm just kidding.
The PDP. All right?
Okay, we're going to take a quick break now, and when we come back, we have so much more to discuss. There's no other channel worth watching. Stay with us. Nigeria Decides. Hello and welcome back to Nigeria Decides. As the election approaches, one of the biggest concerns is the question of security in Nigeria. Much like in 2015, the Nigerian army is undergoing a massive offensive in the northeast against the Boko Haram insurgency. And earlier this week, a chairman of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, the NURTW, a guy known as MC Olumo, was stabbed in the neck, and 2 journalists were shot and injured at a political rally in Lagos for Jide Sanwo-Olu, who is the APC's candidate for the governorship in 2019. Now, footage from the event is tough stuff. It shows men armed with knives and machetes attacking people in the crowds. They were dispossessing people of their phones and their wallets. Now, in total, at least 8 people, including MC Olomo, were badly injured and taken to hospital. 2 men were arrested at the scene, and I hear that 40 more people have been arrested subsequently. And police have since identified 15 confirmed suspects that they want for questioning. Lagos, Eko. I mean, you know, you hear about all these things, yes? You hear about things in the Middle Belt. You hear, of course, we've heard about the Northeast and the things that go on there. But you always have in your mind that Lagos is this sanctuary where, despite 21 million people living on top of each other, we still manage to sort of get along. Someone once said, I think it was Fashola said to me, the whole of Nigeria lives in Lagos. Then you see the big coming out party for Jide Sanwo-Olu, who is a long-time APC face. He was a commissioner for establishment and training during Fashola's term. And there he is, as this whole thing is happening, the current governor is making his speech, and there's gunshot sounds in the background. He's bundled off. People are fighting each other with machetes. Please, doctor, you're from the APC. What on earth is going on?
Let's put it this way. What happened in Lagos on Monday was a big shame and a big embarrassment. Let's put it that way. Let's accept that reality. It should never happen in a civilized political setting. However, historically, we know that violence has been part and parcel of Nigerian political architecture for a very long time. It did seem to me that we were gaining a foothold and we were getting better. It did look to me that things were improving and that our political rallies and political engagements were
becoming more orderly.
Yes. So I think that what happened in Lagos is a manifestation or a boiling over of what has always been there, but they have never had an opportunity to manifest. These 2 groups from the National Union of Road Transport Workers are known to the police, they are known to the public, they are known to have always engaged themselves in all sorts of violent engagements.
Let's just be clear for those people that don't know what the NURTW is. Yes. This is these are on the ground groups of transport workers. So you're talking about people like bus drivers. You're talking about right down to the touts at the bus parks.
Absolutely.
And so on. And in years gone by, in elections gone by, this has been a sort of a mob for hire to some degree. Let's be honest about it. These guys are admirals, many of them, right? They're ready to fight, for money. And we thought we'd seen the last of that. And then you get to an APC rally, and it's not like these are sent by PDP or whatever. These are factions within the NRT fighting over what? Who gets the? What are they fighting over?
I would probably think that they are fighting over about who gets the front row. Okay,
which is money. Really.
It's money, and it's about patronage. It's about having access.
And I would say probably, Susan, that somebody controlled them up to that point, and it seems as if maybe that person's attention has been taken away or whatever, and they feel as if they've grown wings, and so there becomes fiefdoms, internal riveries. Absolutely. I'm guessing, I don't know these guys, but something changed for these guys to come out and feel they had the confidence to go there and start shooting at people.
Nigerian society and political behavior in Nigeria are actually shaped by patronage and clientage, and that's what we have seen. These are people that have been instructed or guided to go one way or the other, and their patrons. There are division within amongst the patrons following the primaries of Sanwo-Olu and Ambode. And what happened is that carrying over to that rally. There are factions of the Ambodes. Doctor, you can correct me, but I stand to be corrected that what happened were factions of the Ambodes and the Sanwo-Olu playing out
because Ambode never wanted, let's be, nobody can say otherwise. Ambode never wanted, he was forced out, he never wanted to leave. Because he felt he was doing a good job.
Exactly.
But powers beyond his control said, your time is up.
So you need to go.
So he may have gritted his teeth and gone out and sang the praises of the man that's taking his job, right?
But he wasn't happy.
But people behind him may not be so happy is what you're saying. Let's be realistic here. This is Nigeria Decides. We tell the truth and we demystify on this show, yes? We don't obfuscate. Okay, Adedamola.
I think where my concern is that how did they manage to get those weapons into the rally area? I mean, they should have looked at all the possibilities in terms of making sure that they check everybody, make sure, they don't have any weapon that will actually endanger people's lives. So I think they failed to do that. And I think all the different factions that might be there within the party, I think they need to sit down and talk to each other and make sure that...
Very quickly, because this could impact APC's position. You do it again, people like you can't even control your own people, right? And the PDP, that is gold to the PDP.
Absolutely. So they need to do something about that to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And if there's going to be another similar rally, then they need to make sure that the security apparatus are in place
is
and
up to point.
Is checked to make sure.
Let's stay with, you mentioned security. Let's go further north now, and let me take you to the Middle Belt, or indeed let me now take you to the northeast of Nigeria. Muhammadu Buhari ran his first election in 2015, successfully becoming president, based on security, the economy, and corruption. We thought, as a tough-talking general, that he was going to do a lot on security that Goodluck Jonathan couldn't. In many corners, it felt that on security, he didn't do enough, that we still have that problem that still exists. You're now seeing outbreaks in Zamfara. You have various things happening in Benue. If you are on the outside in the diaspora, you might think that Nigeria is on fire. I mean, what on earth in terms of security, what's Buhari's... How is Buhari perceived? I won't ask you, doctor, in security. And how badly do you think, Susan, this will affect his chances in a few weeks' time to get re-elected?
Thanks. As you've mentioned, Buhari campaigned hugely around security in 2015. He's done a little, but he hasn't done enough. Between January and September last year, 1,700 people were murdered in this area you refer to. a huge numbers from previous years.
And they seem
this
defenseless.
is a government that is meant to be focusing on security. And people are picking this extremist, they are picking on ethnicity. They're going to raid Christians and areas.
And psychologically, it's tearing at the fabric of the nation.
Of the nation.
Psychologically.
And like you said, for a general, we're expecting that he would do more than this. I'm sure doctor will not be happy with this. And I believe there is an element, if Buhari is not a Fulani, much would have been done. I believe there is a game of ethnicity played by the president in terms of where these extremists are coming from, which are from his tribe.
Dr. Philip, APC UK Chairman, right to reply.
Thank you very much, Susan, and thanks, Mark. I think I agree totally that Nigeria still faces security challenges. But to say that the situation today has not improved from 2015, I think that would be overstating it. I think that what we are failing to interrogate is this, that the instability that has gripped the West African sub-region, coming from the north, with the events in Libya, with the events in Syria, with the events in Mali, and all the downflow of arms,
it's feeding into our problems.
It's feeding into our problems, and our borders are very porous.
It's Gaddafi's boys from Mali.
Yes, plus the international dimension. We cannot.
People won't want to hear that in Nigeria.
You just mentioned something that is very important about these people now have sophisticated weapons. Then we need to ask ourselves. We need to ask the government, how are these weapons getting into the country under their watch?
Dademola, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think just to buttress what Councillor Susan said is that that is the responsibility of the government to make sure life and property are secured. And I don't think the government is doing enough.
And it's the number one priority.
It is.
So they are not doing enough. As you've said, how do they manage to get all these weapons into the country? So does that mean we are not protecting our border well enough? So government needs to do something to make sure, they limit the amount of weapons, all the loopholes where people actually bring those weapons into the country.
They definitely need to do that, and we need to take a quick break. We have so much more to discuss. Please join us just in a few moments. Hello and welcome back to Nigeria Decides. I'm Mark Edo, and I'm pleased to welcome back my great panel, UK politician, Councillor Susan Fajana Thomas, APC UK Chairman Dr. Philip Idiawo, and political analyst extraordinaire Adedamola Aminu. Nigeria's Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amici, has come under serious pressure following the release of a series of audio recordings purporting to be him speaking. I'm sure you've heard them. In the recordings, which have been shared by the press and they've been on social media, he expressed, negative views on Nigeria and Lagos and the administration of President Buhari. You've got to remember now that he was the campaign head for President Buhari in this election. Now, the minister says the leaked audio is part of, and I'm quoting him here, mudslinging politics of the opposition, and that the audio tapes had been edited out of context. I've heard those recordings. First of all, Dr. Philip, this stuff was hot potato, hot stuff, right?
Absolutely.
I know you've spoken to him, I've spoken to him, it sounded like him, he hasn't said it's not him. How damaging is it this, when you've got someone as high profile as your transportation minister and someone who's heading or co-heading the election campaign, who's bad-mouthing, by the looks of things, his own principle and actually Nigeria as a whole?
When this came out, what did I do? I sent a set of those released audios to a security expert here in the UK.
Oh, you did?
I did. I didn't.
What to do? What to decipher whether they were genuine?
No. See, we know Honorable Amichi's voice. It is not a question of whether it is his voice.
Yeah.
All right, that is not the problem. It is the fact that we live in an era where artificial intelligence has become so advanced that you can be made to say certain things that never came from your mouth. So I wanted to know. I mean,
whether it's been doctored, basically.
Exactly. Now, the report that I got back is quite instructive.
Yeah. What did it say?
It's clear that what they have done is to pick some of the things he has said, line them up, join them up with other things that he has said, completely every one of them out of context.
Yeah, but you can't prove this. That's the problem. You can't prove it. Yeah. And the thing is that that's not as an effective argument as just listening to the thing and hearing it. Let's be realistic.
We know, but it is the fact that, look, this kind of information needs to be given to Nigerians so they stop believing every fake news that is being delivered to them.
Adedemola was shaking his head, disagreeing with you profusely. Why, Adedemola?
I think for a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, part of the current administration, to be making a statement like that, I think is really, really wrong. Not only about the president, about Lagos State.
Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah, and then other comments attributed to him as well. I think we need to be very careful when you're in that position, when you speak in a public gathering, in terms of what you say, what people will pick out of it. Sometimes they might pick it out of context of what you said, but you need to be very careful. And you cannot just make a sweeping statement that, discredits.
You've got to watch what you say, especially
as a politician.
I mean, at the very least, APC should understand that he made that statement. Susan, how damaging is this to APC?
It is very damaging to APC, be a parlor talk or not. We know, like you said, Doctor, we know, we recognize Rotimi Ameshi's voice. That was him on that audio tape. But the point remains, there is this in Nigeria, again, talking as a UK politician, there is no maturity in our politics in Nigeria. If as you can be somebody in a party and still be able to criticize another person in your party if what they're doing, you need to do it objectively rather than doing it as rather than making stupid statement as is made or not made. Let me say that, made or not made. But it is very damaging to APC, in particular with the position Amechi
because it's him saying it
within the party. If it had been an APC activist that is saying this, but not Rotimi Amechi.
30 seconds.
Yes, I was going to say to you, it is not about Nigerian politicians not being matured. It is about Nigerian politicians not being trained in the art of public communication. This is where we need to deepen our leadership, public communication. It is very important. They are mature, but communication.
That is part of when you become a politician. That's part of it. You need to have a strong community engagement, and without having a strong,
they need to respect communication and not think communication is press releases or something. They need to have it embedded, and they need to that carries the electorate along. That's what's lacking with every successive government, isn't it? Well, but let's move on, because President Buhari has handed the responsibility for the re-election campaign to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the former governor of Lagos State, and the man who, by the way, masterminded the landmark 2015 election win. Tinubu will now lead what is called the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress, and the decision is being seen as a masterstroke by the APC and a sign that the two men have reconciled their alleged differences after an apparent falling out following the success of the 2015 campaign. Susan, a masterstroke, do you agree?
Yeah, that did. It is a strategy from the part of the president. It is important. Bola Tinubu is very important to his campaign, and is very important to his having his 25% in all the south west states, and that is part of what he is doing with this. But having said that, with Nigerian elections, there is usually a consensus, a political elite consensus within all parties that this is this person need to win. This has not happened in the coming election in 2019. Within APC, PDP back in 2015, people want Jonathan gone. And there was this...
The groundswell.
The ground was swelling. They want Buhari there, but it's not happening this time.
So it's still anybody's
It's
gain.
anybody's gain as it is, and Buhari need to put every strategies in the bag together to make sure the election is swinging his ways.
And so what you're saying is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is a mastermind.
He's a mastermind.
One can deny this guy has the battle scars to prove it.
Yes.
If you're going to pull any big guns out, he's the biggest.
He's the
right?
biggest, that's it.
Instead of having him sidelined or whatever, you pull him in because it's your better chance. Especially when you're just a few weeks away from the election itself on the 16th of February, and it still looks like you're almost neck and neck in perception, at least, although each party will say their man is ahead. To the electorate, we still don't know who's going to be president post the election. So let me go back to this. Dr. Philip, I mentioned before that there was talk that these two juggernauts of Nigerian politics, Buhari and Tinubu, had been strange bedfellows to begin with, but had taken the country into a new direction with APC and broken the stranglehold of PDP for what? How many years was it there? 16 years. And then there was talk, rightly or wrongly, maybe you'll be able to tell us, that they fell out to some agreement. There was some disagreement. I remember last year, Mrs. Tinubu, Bola Ahmed Tinubu's wife, suggested that her husband had been sidelined by the president. What are your thoughts on all this? Is this a reconciliation? Were they always good? What's going on from the inside? We want the inside gist. Here's the inside gist.
I think President Buhari and Asiwaju Tinubu, I think they are good. They are good. They have been good for quite a long time. Of course, following the 2015 elections, like all party players, people who felt that as APC's tool, or people who felt they contributed extensively to the campaign and the success of the...
Were not remunerated in position.
They were not recognized.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the issue of not remunerated, but they were not recognized. Even a token of thank you, you know, to some was sufficient.
They didn't get their sweat equity.
Yes, absolutely.
Robustly.
But I think that the president and Asiwaju are good. And I think that the president has shown that he is somebody who is careful in thoughts and decisive in decisions.
What is he going to do for him?
Now, I tell you this. The president recognizes that, if I may say this, he understands that he is not as politically savvy, cosmopolitan, with a countrywide reach.
You need someone better than him at it.
That's it. And he has brought in the right man. I see what you can reach out.
Adedamola, masterstroke or
Of
not?
course he is. I mean, knowing him very well. And he is the best candidate to actually lead Buhari's campaign. And as we all agree that during the last election, I mean, all his effort and everything he did to actually get President Buhari into power was not really recognized that much. And I think this time around they need to actually look into that, because it's a teamwork. You cannot go to a battle and win, and then you only compensate few people or people that are not part of the war. So I think the government of Buhari government need to do more about that. But in terms of Asiwaju, he's a master politician. And believe me, if anybody can get Buhari back, is the best person to be in that role.
Okay, we have to take a short break, but stay with us, because when we come back, we'll be talking about fake news and fainting senators. We're back in a moment. Hello, you're back with Nigeria Decides. I'm Mark Edo. Now, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka says the peddling of fake news should be treated as a heavy crime. He urged the government to use all the laws at their disposal, libel, slander, and identity theft, to deal with the purveyors of so-called fake news. He was speaking at a BBC conference in Abuja entitled Nigeria 2019 Countering Fake News. And he said Fake news is dangerous. They've killed us so many times. Imagine waking up and reading a statement attributed to you in a language you never imagined. Those who carry fake news are sick in the head, and they are cowards, and they lack conviction. Strong words from... Actually, I will start with Dr. Philip Idiawo, because I have to mention that you have more than a passing resemblance to Wole Soyinka. And you're a professor, a former professor, so I must hand over the mantle to you, sir. And you still spoke about fake news before, the scourge of fake news. I mean, the thing is that, you know, we've seen all these things with Trump and fake news and so on, but let's put this in a Nigerian context. Let's actually even move away from the political spectrum, generally within Nigeria, even if we weren't during a political time.
Absolutely.
Nigeria is like dry wood, yeah? And fake news is like kerosene. Yeah? You light that up, you know what happens. Absolutely. So it's not just about words. Yeah, they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Nalayo, words can seriously destroy. How damaging could fake news be to Nigeria?
Not how could. I think already there's a lot of damage being inflicted on our national psyche by purveyors of fake news. And I totally agree with Prof. Soyinka. And I totally agree to the extent that I believe that there should be laws. If they are not there should be laws put in place to ensure that those who do these things are dealt with severely. Not long ago, I read a news clip from India about people being killed because of fake news. So imagine that you are in an environment where, for instance, certain cultural conducts are not allowed, and somebody goes out and publicizes all of these about you. Okay, think. You have spoken about firewood and kerosene. That is exactly what will happen.
But you can see the thing is that Nigeria is the birthplace of the 419 letter. Let's be honest, we are, right? And so it's not just about fake news. It's about people using fake news to try to fool people and try to fleece them and so on. It's quite nefarious.
I think it's really bad. I mean, I quite agree with Dr. Idiawo. I mean, similar thing happens to me. I think Councillor Susan is aware of someone, you know, who wrote something very, very untrue about me, and already it's in the court anyway, because you have to protect your name.
You have to, your brand.
I mean, this person actually went out of her way to write something that does not actually pertain.
What did she use? Twitter? Did she use?
Facebook and blog.
Social media.
Social media. Without verifying, without confirming whether that story she's writing about me is true or not. But I've taken the action.
And that's what you have to do, I think.
That's what I have to do.
And you have to be very quick in the political...
And this is something that is really damaging to myself, the local authority that I represent, and the community that I represent.
And this resonates, it stays there. That's why in a political spectrum, if you're to advise any of these political candidates, you have to actually respond very quickly. That's what Obama did to great effect. Whenever they said anything about him, he just came in very quickly and just responded very quickly. Because if you just let it sit there, what is fiction becomes fact. Susan, very damaging this. And I think that Wole Soyinka is right, saying fake news. He said actually that, I recall he said they even created Facebook accounts that said it was him, and he was receiving Facebook messages from himself saying that if you don't vote for this person, or if you do vote for this person, your father is a goat and your mother is a monkey or something like that. Ridiculous.
That is absolutely right. It's like many of us here, that has happened to me. I've got many fake Hollywood, Nollywood fans somewhere there. But having said that, I think it is agree that this needs to be tackled by every means. But because of the digital age, because of technology, this fake news can start on WhatsApp. That is not monitored. That is not. It's very hard to control. So most of that's why this is so difficult.
And we need a Nigerian solution. We need particular.
We need a Nigerian solution.
I agree with
Nigerians are very creative. Our young people. Creative,
and devil finds work for idle hands to do. How many people are out of? How many young people are sitting in front of a laptop, hungry with nothing to do? That was fake news. Let me tell you a real story, right? The colorful reality show that is the life of Senator Dino Melaye has been added with another chapter this week after he surrendered to police and then currently went to hospital with asthma. Now, Malaye was arrested following an 8-day siege by police outside his home in Abuja. It was very colorful indeed. The Kogi West senator was wanted in connection with his alleged involvement in the shooting of a police officer, charges which, of course, he denies. Now, police say the senator is fit to stand trial, but that he's still in hospital, and he says he's unfit and he's unable to stand trial at this time. He says he's not well and he can't stand up in court. I remember a few months ago, the man fell out of a police car. This time, the video, if you've seen it, and I advise you to see it, he's rolling around on the floor. There he is, rolling around on the floor. And I have to say, actually, on the video, and maybe it's just me, but I think I was like, as you brought specialists to look at that audio recording, me, I used my specialist's eye to look at this video. and I saw one moment here, as his shirt is riding up, it's subconscious. He tries to adjust his shirt. You don't adjust your shirt if you're dying of an asthma attack. No, seriously. I mean, is this guy damaging to politics? I mean, is it Susan? I mean, he's in the news all the time. You see him. There's some pictures. Maybe we can bring these pictures up of him showing off his fleet of expensive cars on a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and then you've got him doing dances, showing his eyes and stuff. It's a bit clownish stuff. Do we need this in politics to wake people up, or is it damaging? Susan?
It's hugely damaging, and it just brings politics in Nigeria to disrepute. And having said that, this is somebody that claimed to be this bold politician, ready to sing at Dekuya Nyoje every time. And this is him. You're a lawmaker. You have been charged or not charged for a crime. All you need to do is to present yourself. Yeah. Why on earth will you hold the police for 8 good days outside your house? It's just a drama.
Who is advising this man? No one,
I don't know.
maybe.
Nobody. I don't think anybody advises him. He just he thinks like a friend in Ekiti is untouchable, not until they realize they are actually touchable. And that is what is happening to him.
Dr. Philip, what is all this brouhaha, this drama where you're presenting yourself and then you're kind of getting carried by two people, falling on the floor, rolling around? Okay, maybe he genuinely had it, but we've already seen him before rolling out of a police car. So, you know, if you cry wolf one time, you know, to the general public, it makes it look like no one seems to believe this. No, I mean, what's going on with this man?
I like to look at Senator Dino Melaye's presence in Nigerian political environment from two ways, two perspectives. One, and this is very worrying, it is the message he is sending to the younger generation. He's a young person, he's a young man, and therefore
and quite flashy.
There are millions of young Nigerians who are looking up to him. He's a role model, whether we accept it or not, to millions of Nigerians.
He's in their viewpoint. They can see him.
So it's the damaging moral issue or message or that he's transmitting to this generation of Nigeria. So that you can do anything, you can behave in any way, okay, provided you make it.
You don't have to be honorable, you can be dishonorable to a great degree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but counter that, the thing is that I remember the great writer Oscar Wilde said, the only thing worse than people talking about me is people not talking about me.
Yeah,
so the thing is that Adita Mola, is this guy not like the Boris Johnson of Nigerian politics? Boris Johnson used to be lampooned as a buffoon. And then look at what happened to him. He rose to the highest echelons of power. At least people know. Name how many senators can the average Nigerian name?
But Boris Johnson never behaved like Dino Melaye. He has never been taking his duty or his position lightly. He's more responsible, and he conducts himself as honorable member of the House of Parliament. Dino is not an honorable member of Senate, and he doesn't behave as someone who deserves that role.
All those who are part of the Dino Melaye fan club, raise your hands. Well, I think that actually answers that. And it's all the time we have for this edition of Nigeria Decides. Don't forget to follow us at RealJHUK on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. I'm Mark Edo, and from the entire team in London and my great panel here, goodbye and thank you for watching Nigeria Decides.